Hey guys, this is Justin at Songbirds, and we have here a black knockoff Fender Stratocaster that a student has brought in for repairs, and I just kind of want to take this opportunity to open it up and show everybody what is inside of it and what, what an electric guitar does. At its core, an electric guitar is really simple. It's just a piece of wood, and obviously it has a neck and a body, and then it has the electronics. And the electronics are going to be at least one guitar pickup, which are these things, and then that's pretty much it. That's the parts that will pick up your signal, send them out to your amp or your computer, whatever you're using to make music. I will preface this by saying that this guitar is not the best, and we will go into that in a second as to why. Maybe you'll be able to figure it out as we go. There are so many guitars on the market. The market is truly saturated, and that is a good thing. But this one is probably not going to last very long because it is not made as super durable as it could, and we'll go over that in a second. A lot of these manufacturers that build these guitars save so much money on the quality of the electronics that are put into them. I won't say what this brand is, but it's one of the cheapest ones you can get on Amazon, and a lot of the ones that are the same shape or are very similar to this build style are greatly improved by just a little as $100 or $200, because that is really what it takes to make the electronics be lasting and go into that as a better quality instrument. So here is why. These are, like I said, the pickups. There are two different kinds of pickups in this guitar. This is a single coil pickup, and this is a humbucker pickup. They are all pretty much the same thing. These little poles here are magnets, and then inside of the pickup there is electrically conductive wire that is wrapped super quickly around the magnets to make an electromagnetic field. Your strings will go over top of these pickups, and then when you play your strings with your pick or your fingers or whatever, that vibration will be literally picked up by the pickups, because that's why they're called pickups, and transferred into electric signal, and that will go into your electronic components and then out to your amp. Now, these pickups are not branded. You know, a lot of pickups you get on electric guitars will literally have a manufacturer company stamped on them. Not all the time, but you will always see on the good quality ones on the front or on the back their name. These ones are not. And I've built a lot of guitars. I've used a lot of these electronic components that you can get on Amazon or for the cheaper ones, and they sound good, but they don't sound great. And there's a huge sound spectrum, of course, of tones we can hear. The high end, the low end, everything in between. And I find that a lot of these pickups on the entry-level guitars are missing a lot of the high end. They sound super woolly and almost kind of sounds like you're listening from a distance. It's not very in your face, and that's kind of exactly what's going on with these guys. So anyway, we're going to take this whole plate here. I've already taken off the screws and the strings. We're going to flip it over and see what is going on. So here is the back of the pickups. These are the single coil ones, of course. This is the humbucker, and these wires are just going out of the pickups. You know, imagine that you played your strings on the other side, it's picked up the sound, and then the electromagnetic field has changed your signal into electric current, and it's going out of your pickups into these components. This thing is the pickup selector switch. We're going to turn this over here, and we're going to see that is just what you move on your guitar to essentially decide which pickups you are using when you play. The one up here towards the neck is the warmest one, the one's good for solos, the one that sounds creamiest or smoothest. The one in the middle is the twangiest, or we say spanky, which is very good for country and blues and stuff. And the one down here towards the bottom, especially humbuckers, are good for your harder rock, your metal. Those are the ones that are the brightest and the harshest and have the most gain. I should say also that humbuckers are louder. They produce a lot more sound and volume than the single coils do. So this is a cool, if you're playing guitar like this, it's good for all different kinds of genres. Anyway, while we're over here, we're going to look at these knobs. Now this one, it looks like these knobs maybe have been popped off and put on the wrong way. When you turn them all to the right, they should read the words. So we can see we have volume, tone, but almost upside down, another tone. That's fine, that's an easy fix. But this is obviously your volume control for the guitar, so however loud you want your amp to hear your signal or whatever you're using, you can control it with this. That affects all of the sound of the instrument. And our tones are controlling, usually looks like this tone goes to this pickup, that tone goes to this pickup. Now, essentially, that is just controlling the spectrum of sound that you hear when you play from that pickup. So a lot of people think a big misconception, and that is that when you are controlling your tone knob, you are actually adding or subtracting sound from the guitar. So for example, if I turn my guitar knob that it says tone all the way up to the right or clockwise, people think, oh man, I've added all these cool like sounds, my guitar sounds so full. But that's not the case. What you're actually doing here is that you are allowing the pickups to hear the whole spectrum of sound as they are built. So if you have crappy pickups in your guitar that aren't very good, it's only going to hear bad sound. And if you have great pickups in your guitar that are super amazing, it's going to hear the full spectrum of amazing sound. It's just allowing the pickup to do its job to the best of its ability. If you take that tone knob and you turn it down, you are telling the pickup, hey, I don't want to hear the high end of that spectrum. I want to take my high tones that are the brighter tones and I want to roll them off, and I want to hear only the bass stuff. So this is good for if you're playing metal or harder rock and you want to hear some dirtier, grittier sounds that don't have that high shrill end. You roll your tone knobs down. I'm one of those people that play with them up all the time and never touch them, so that's my personal preference, but you do have applications for it in different genres. Let's flip this thing over, and we can see the backs of these knobs. So we have these things here, which are called potentiometers, or pots, and those are just the backs of the knobs and what the controls really are and what they look like. You can see here that all of our wires are going to some configuration to the pickup selector and to our volume knob, which is then bridged off to the tone knobs. These little green guys here are electric components that are called capacitors. Capacitors are very simple parts of circuits, and essentially this is just helping the tone knobs function better. It is allowing for that tone roll-off where you're able to take your high frequencies and move them away or have them not be picked up when you play. And then lastly here we do have our two lead wires that are going out from the volume pot all the way to our input jack. The white wire here is our ground connection, which is going to do its best job to make the noise go away, and the red wire is our hot or our audio signal, which goes out here to the input jack. Now with our input jack, we would take our guitar cable and we would plug it in here to get our sounds. This jack is really not good. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'm able to wiggle this cable here and the connection is breaking. Right? It's not making full connection at all, and that's essentially what is wrong with this guitar. So I'm gonna have to go in here and replace this jack to get a better quality jack on here that will last and be more durable. This is just one example of a component that is not good on this build, and that is really just a matter of time before it fails completely. This was brought in, and the student was saying how it kind of cuts in and out, but I wouldn't give this much longer before it just fails. So glad we can fix that here real quickly and give it a better sound on this instrument. And that is about it. The last thing I will point out is that there is this really curious piece of, it looks like a sticker, honestly, of like some kind of metallic foil thing. This is decorative. It's totally pointless. I'm not really sure why it's there. This is an attempt at a electromagnetic blockage. So when you play guitar pickups that are single coil, it also applies to humbuckers, but especially single coil, there's going to be a 60 cycle or 60 hertz hum that always happens. When you have humbuckers, that hum goes away, or it almost goes away, which is why they're called humbuckers. But anyway, these single coil pickups are very susceptible to interference from computers, from radios, from cars, from everything that is in your pocket like a cell phone. So we put foil or some kind of shielding inside the electric guitar cavity and on the back of the control plate to prevent that. You are doing what's called a Faraday cage when you fully seal the cavity and the back of this with foil. So you would have a total sheet here in the cavity, a total coverage on the back, and then a way that they connect and overlap so that you have a total electrical cage around your components so they cannot pick up interference. Therefore, this does not do anything because you do not have anything on the inside, and this whole cavity is still open to interference. This would be like, I don't know, if you were in a boat and the boat was sinking and you only tried to bail water out of one side. It doesn't matter because the whole thing is still filling with water, right? You would have to bail from everywhere and more fast to get the water out. This is just decorative. And then this wire, while we're here, is another way to prevent hum. This goes all the way to the back and goes to the bridge to have extra grounding, and so the guitar is a bit more quiet. As I mentioned at the beginning of this little video, these components here are very small. The more durable version of these are at least like a third bigger, and they have a lot more stable components. These wires are very thin here on this build, and they are not the fullest gauge that I would recommend for these. This is a fine instrument for now, but it really will, I would say its time is limited based on these components. It would do a lot better to upgrade all these electronics, and any of these builds that you get on the cheap from Amazon or other places all have this stuff in them. As I said, I've built with these myself, and there's a reason why they're cheap. So if you are looking to buy a guitar or looking to upgrade, definitely check your electronics first. There is not a ton of variation of your sound and your quality in the body or the neck if it's good enough, but there is a huge variation in your electronics. So that is something to consider. And it does help just to go up in price point a tiny bit when you're online shopping, because a little bit does go a long way when it comes to electronics. So that is all for this. I hope if you play electric guitar, you learned something, and I hope this is beneficial to you. If something does go wrong with your instrument, now maybe you can think, oh, I bet it is my input jack based on the fact that my signal cuts out. Or maybe it's my volume knob because, well, it doesn't work all the way. So you can take it to your technician. You can come to us at Songbirds and say, hey, I think it might be an issue with my input jack, and that'll help speed things along, make things a lot easier, and help your instrument be getting back into full shape as quickly as possible. And if you don't play electric guitar, I hope you learned something. I hope this maybe inspired you to check out electronics and to check out the guitar and do something cool with it. Thanks so much, and we'll see you at Songbirds.